Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in for today's webinar presentation. This is a refresh of some of the webinars that we've already looked at. Today, we're going to be looking at updating rates for next year. This is going to include a lot of components from some of our previous webinars. So with this webinar, we've timed it so that it occurs towards the end of the year. We're looking at the end of 2025 right now and preparing for 2026. Many of you might have already loaded your rates, gotten everything set up. This webinar is just a bit of a catch-all to kind of give you an overview if you haven't started yet, if you're in the midst of updating rates, or if you've already finished, if you wanted to double check your work or just kind of have a bit of a refresh of some of those tools and features inside Roomkey. So for today's webinar presentation, we're going to be looking at a rates overview. We'll start with introductions, of course. We'll look at a rates overview. We'll look at loading rate prices and restrictions, those actions inside Roomkey. We'll talk about some GDS rates and group rates. We get a lot of questions about those two components inside and outside of Roomkey. And then we'll look at some rate management resources available across the Roomkey PMS platform and support platforms as well. We'll wrap up today with a summary and Q&A. So with our introductions today, my name is Tasha LeClaire. I'm a trainer and implementation specialist with Roomkey. Joining me today, I do have our Director of Customer Experience, Mr. William Tam. I'll be leading today's presentation and the demonstrations on screen, and William will oversee the chat and Q&A. If you have any questions throughout today's presentation, you can go ahead and click on that Q&A button, type out a question, and William will be able to reply. If there are some extra questions left over, we can always include those in our Q&A at the end as well. A couple more things about today's webinar. The webinar is being recorded, and a copy of the recording will be added to our support website following today's presentation. If you've registered for registered for this webinar, you'll receive a notification once that presentation is made available on our support website. You can share that link with anyone as well. It's publicly available. For those of you that are joining our live webinar presentation, there is a webinar survey at the end of our presentation. It's just a quick 3 questions that give us an opportunity to solicit some feedback from you. And if you'd like to suggest any topics for future webinar presentations, there's a space there that you can make those suggestions to us. We really appreciate that feedback. So jumping right into our rate overview topic for today. Um, if this is your first time looking at rates, or maybe the first time looking at managing rates in a while, maybe you haven't done it since last year, um, you're going to find in the system configuration menu, there's going to be 2 sections there. There's going to be the rates and the rate wizard. The rates module is actually our legacy product. This is the original version of our rate management tool when Roomkey was first developed a little over 20 years ago. One limitation of this rate management tool, though, is that it is organized by room type by rate plan. So it works really well if you have 1 or 2 room types and maybe 1 or 2 rate plans. But once you start to utilize more room types, more rate plans, maybe you have more distribution across like GDS or third-party websites, connectivity partners, things like that. We find that this legacy model is challenging to use. So really early on, we ended up developing the Rate Wizard. This is an all-in-one rate management tool, and this is what we strongly recommend you use for managing your rates across Roomkey and across your connectivity platforms. Um, if you are currently using the old rates module, this rates legacy management tool, I strongly recommend that you reach out to us, either our support team or our inside sales team. We'll give you some contact information at the end of today's presentation. We can help you migrate the rates from the old rates module into the new rate wizard so that you can organize and manage all of those rate plans in one central location there. So because we're focusing in on the Rate Wizard tool, let's give a bit of an overview of what you're looking at when you log in or when you access the Rate Wizard itself. Of course, it is found in system configuration. It's just called the Rate Wizard. Um, if you don't see system configuration or the Rate Wizard tool there, or if it's grayed out, you do need to have the owner admin user role designated for your clerk ID for your login in Roomkey. You also need to have the permission 810, the rate tables user defined. This is the clerk permission that should be enabled on your user or on your clerk ID by default when you are given the owner admin user role. That is the only thing that you need to access the Rate Wizard and all of the features we'll be looking at today. Um, However, there are some permissions that may be enabled on your user role that prevent you from accessing some tools. So these permissions are considered restrictions or restrict your access to certain features. Even if you have permission 810, if you have any of these restrictive permissions, they will prevent you from doing certain actions inside Roomkey. Um, by default, these are not enabled. So if these have been added to your user role, you might want to follow up with your management team or your admin just to confirm which permissions you should be allowed to access. These restrictive permissions are really easy to identify on your Clerk ID because they have the word disallow. So that indicates that they actually prevent you from doing something. So just a good reminder there about those different permission settings on your Clerk ID. Now, in the Rate Wizard, when you open up the Rate Wizard and you have no restrictions, you're going to see a list of all of your rate plans listed alphabetically in this main screen here. Each rate plan has a rate name. This is the name that appears when you are booking a reservation. And it's also the name, the rate plan name that appears on any guest facing documentation like the confirmation letter or guest folio. Right next to that is the rate code. This is an alphanumeric code, so it's only letters or numbers. It could be uppercase or lowercase letters, but it does not allow you to do any special characters like spaces or hyphens or exclamation marks. These rate codes are required, especially for any rates that are distributed to GDS platforms, any third-party connectivity partners like Synexus, Booking.com, any GMS websites as well. Next to each of the rate plans is a series of columns with some have check marks, some are blank. These indicate how the rate is distributed through these different distribution channels. So we've got the hotel website distribution channel. This is actually the eRes booking engine that is proprietary to Roomkey. So when you first get started with Roomkey, most of our Roomkey PMS databases come with the eRes booking engine included as part of your setup or initial onboarding. If you're not using the GDS, or sorry, if you're not using our eRes, you may be using a GDS connectivity partner for your booking engine. And these GDS connectivity partners, they could be any type of third-party website or host that distributes rates on behalf of the hotel. And almost always, they will charge some sort of commission for any bookings that are hosted or obtained through their platform. So these could be third-party websites like Booking.com, Expedia. They could be booking engines that run your guest management. They could be channel managers like SiteMinder or rate management tools like Ideas and Duetto. Then we also have two other less commonly used distribution channels. The CRS is Central Reservation System. This is another type of proprietary software by Roomkey. This is utilized by properties that have sister properties or chained properties that instead of having separate reservations team, they pool together one central reservations team. It's not very common, but if you are one of those properties, you might be used to calling that Roomkey Red because it has red, a Roomkey Red logo or red logo for Roomkey there. A lock-off distribution channel is used exclusively for connecting rooms that combine to create a new room type. And because they combine to create a unique room type, they require a unique rate plan. Now, if you don't have any of those room types that combine to create a new room type, you wouldn't be using a lock-off either. Lastly, we have the direct distribution channel. This is the most commonly used one. This is where guests go to contact the hotel directly, and a user in Roomkey would create a new reservation for them. And any rates that are available through that process by contacting the hotel directly, those are considered distributed through the direct or direct hotel distribution channel there. So at a glance, from the rate wizard, you can see exactly where these rates are distributed based off of the check marks in these distribution channel columns. Like I said, most hotels are not going to have that CRS or lock off. You're just going to have a hotel website, GDS, and direct, which is what we see in this example here. And in some cases, if you're not using our eRes booking engine, you may only have check marks in your GDS and direct distribution channels there. Now, moving to the far right-hand side, we have two final columns that also give us an indication about how the rate behaves or how rates are determined. The first column here is tier enabled. These are rates where the rate price is dependent upon another rate plan. So these are commonly used for discounted rates. They can also be used for many of your rates that are distributed to the GDS, your connectivity partners, where instead of having to load prices individually, they are all dependent upon another rate. And in this example here, I can let you know that all of these rates with a checkmark and tier enabled are tiered or dependent upon the best available rate, that rate plan at the very top there. The very last column is going to indicate the billing period for these rate plans. By and large, you're going to have daily billing periods where room and taxes billed each and every day throughout the guest stay. But if you do accommodate longer stays where guests are staying a week or a month, we can also set up rate plans that have a weekly or monthly billing period where it posts once per week or once per month. Looking towards the bottom of the rate wizard, we have some more functionality. And numbered here, I have some of our icon buttons. These are very commonly used whenever you're setting up a new rate plan. The number one button here, the green plus symbol, is used to add a new rate plan whenever you're setting up a brand new rate in the rate wizard. Off to the right-hand side in the bottom right corner is the Next button. This button is used to load rate prices, restrictions. It's also used to set up rate tiering or allow you to view any adjustment history. And then back over to the left-hand side, the Edit button, that pen and paper symbol, that is used to make the rate bookable by attaching any client types. You can also attach the corporate accounts or groups, and that can also be used to edit things like the rate plan name or the rate code or the distribution channels. Now, I've numbered them in this sequence, 1, 2, 3, add, next, edit, because this is the sequence that you'll follow if you are creating a new rate plan from scratch. We always recommend you add the new rate plan, use the next button to load your prices, and then use the edit button to attach your client type to make it bookable. Um, For a lot of the maintenance that we'll be looking at in today's presentation, where we are not creating new rate plans, but rather loading rates or looking to add restrictions and things like that for the future, for next year, we're going to be focusing on step number 2, or that second one there, the next button. A lot of functionality is available from that button alone. But we do still have some other shortcut buttons, some buttons that are featured at the bottom of the screen there, the rate categories, client types, and market segments. This is really unique to the Rate Wizard tool because these are system configuration features that that exist outside of the rate wizard. They actually appear in system configuration and the property module or the client types module. Now, these features are required whenever you are creating or managing rate plans. The rate plan is categorized under a rate category. A client type is used to make the rate bookable, and market segments are used for reporting purposes. Now, instead of our old rates module where you'd have to exit out of the module and go to these separate areas in Roomkey, the Rate Wizard has made this area much simpler to navigate, where you can just click on the Rate Categories button and that section or that module will pop up for you. So these are like little shortcuts that are used if you need to add a new rate category or a client type or a new market segment. For the most part, though, you won't be using those too often. These are often set up for you in advance. This is only if you're going to be making major changes to your reporting or your rate categorization structure. The last shortcut or button feature that we have in the Rate Wizard is the integration mapping button. Now, not all users will have access or have this integration mapping button. This is only used if you have interface with one of our connectivity partners here, Vertical Booking, TravelClick iHotelier Advanced, or Synexus Enhanced. So if you have one of these connectivity partners, we actually have this integration mapping tool that allows you to map your rates directly in Roomkey. And we'll see a little more information about rate mapping a little bit later today's presentation. But I just like to point that out for those users or for those properties that do have these enhanced interface tools. Great. Okay, so that's a lot of information about an orientation, but once you are used to navigating the Rate Wizard, once you know what the buttons do, let's look at some functionality that we commonly come across, or common questions that we get to our support team about how to use the Rate Wizard, especially when we're looking at loading rates for the future. Number one question that we get is, how do you update the price for next year? We've got two different options in the way that you can use the Rate Wizard to update your rate prices. Option number one is going to be changing the base rate. This is our recommended option. I've got a little video here that's going to show us how to do that. So here in the Rate Wizard, you're going to select your rate as the best available rate, and you'll click the Next button in the bottom right corner. Now this area at the bottom of the screen, you'll see any rates that are set up. Of course, if you're loading for next year, you're not going to have any rates set up. But to update the base rate, you're going to enter the new base rate at the top of the grid. You'll select your date range, and of course, this is going to be for next year, so you'd be setting up rates for 2026. You'll click the Update Rate Amounts button and click the Save button. Roomkey will confirm that you're updating those rates, and if you have any rates tiered off of it, you'll also confirm that tiering update. Now, when you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see your rate prices have updated, and you can check each rate price per room type per distribution channel. So here we're just checking a couple of different room types, our SK, our DQQ room types across those Hotel Direct channels. So option number one, we like to recommend that one because it's the quickest. It does give you that ability to update the rate price directly from that base rate row at the top of the screen. It does require you to have your rate grid set up, and we do have some more step-by-step information about how to set up a rate grid and those details under our rate management webinar. But let's take a look at another option here. So if you don't want to use the base rate row, that row at the top of the grid, instead, if you want to customize the price for each room type, for each occupancy, single, double, triple, and quad, you can use option number two. And that's going to show us, or this video off to the right-hand side is going to show us how to change each rate in the grid itself without using that base rate row. So we're going to start in much the same way. You'll select the rate. In this case, I'm going to use this Gold Corp corporate rate and click the Next button in the bottom right corner. At the top of the screen, I'm going to edit these prices, but I have to first unlock the grid. I'll remove the check mark there, and now I can enter the new rate or price per occupancy for each room type. So I'll just go through here and update some rate prices. You'll notice that you'll need to click into the cell for each room type. So that's each row and each column, single, double, triple, and quad. So I'll just go ahead and add that there. Once you've updated each price in the grid, you can now enter the date range. So again, you'll be looking at date ranges in 2026. Do not click the Update Rate Template button. I know that could be tempting, but you don't want to change anything on the rate template. You want to go directly to the Update Rate Amounts and select Save. And again, we'll confirm that we want to update the rate amounts. And at the bottom of the screen, we can now double check our work. So you can scroll down and view your rate calendar here. Of course, we can jump ahead to the dates that we changed and just make sure that those prices are updated on the rate calendar in the lower half of the screen there. We can double check each room type is updated to the correct price. So there we're just double checking the SQQ. And of course, we can also double check the DQQ in this example. And again, all of those prices should be appearing at the bottom of the screen there once you've loaded or updated those new rate prices. So two options for updating the price for next year, either using the base rate or changing the rate directly in the grid. Next common question that we get when you're looking at cleaning up or setting up your rates for the future is how do you delete a rate? So in Roomkey, we are not able to delete a rate plan. Instead, we would deactivate a rate plan. Essentially, by deactivating a rate plan, what we are doing are removing the distribution channels. And aesthetically, I do like to recommend that you add the letter Z as a prefix to the rate name. That ensures that, or that indicates that the rate plan has been deactivated. It also ensures that the rate plan drops down to the bottom of the list of rate plans in Roomkey. That way, you're not accidentally using or getting involved with that rate again if it's been deactivated. So it makes those deactivated rates really easy to identify because they're all pushed down to the bottom of the screen there. Now, one thing that I will like to highlight here is our tip. Anytime you are deactivating a rate plan in Roomkey, if you have that rate plan also distributed to any of your connectivity partners, I do recommend that you go onto those platforms, those external portals, make sure that it's also deactivated or decommissioned on those portals as well. That way, there are no confusions when you're comparing between the portal and the setup in Roomkey. It makes everything nice and clear there if you do it all at once. So I have a little video here that's going to show you how to deactivate a rate plan. In this demo database, you'll start from the rate wizard, and I'm going to deactivate this Okari rate plan. You can see that it's currently distributed to a couple of distribution channels. I'm going to click the edit button, that pen and paper symbol at the bottom. And here on the edit screen, I'm going to uncheck those distribution channels. So I'm going to remove the check marks from all three of those distribution channels. And here in the rate name, I'm going to add that prefix, the letter Z. Once I've done that, I can now click Update in the bottom left-hand corner, and you'll see that those changes are now reflected on screen in the rate wizard. So no more check marks, and that rate plan will always appear at the bottom of that list because the letter Z, or because the list is alphabetized, so letter Z always at the bottom there. Great. Now, one thing to be mindful of, if you do have any guests that still have that rate plan, that will cause an issue. So I recommend you wait until until you have no more guests using that rate plan. If you do have some future guests that still have that rate plan booked for into stays in 2026, what you can do instead is simply close the rate plan, wait until those guests have had their stay, and then you would go through this process and deactivate the rate plan. Speaking of closing a rate plan, Next common question we get is how do you close out a date? We've got two ways that you can close out a date. Of course, if you are going to be doing that, if you're going to be deactivating the rate plan eventually, what you want to do is do this close off to the right-hand side. This is going to ensure that guests cannot arrive or stay through the date itself. So you would just go ahead and close all of the dates. But another type of closure that you might want to consider for some types of dates and bookings is a close to arrival. Now, when you close to arrival, this means that the guest cannot arrive on a specific date, but they can stay through the date. So let's say if I was to put a close to arrival on Christmas Eve, December 31st, it means that guests cannot arrive on the 31st, but they could arrive on the 30th and stay through the 31st and check out on January 1st. So a couple of different options there, depending on what you want to do whenever you close out a date. Another type of restriction that we have, or another common restriction question is, how do I restrict the length of stay? This is sometimes referred to as LOS, or length of stay restriction. We also have two versions of this in Roomkey. So we have a minimum LOS or a maximum LOS. Minimum LOS, it means that the guest can book or guests must book a minimum number of nights in order to stay at that rate plan. So that could be like a 2-night minimum, meaning guests must book at least 2 nights in order to qualify for that rate plan. Or you might have a maximum LOS. I see this more commonly used if you offer weekly or monthly rate plans. If you offer a weekly rate plan, for example, you might put a maximum restriction on your daily rate, meaning that you can only stay a maximum of 6 nights on the daily rate plan, and then after that, they must use a weekly rate plan instead. So minimum and maximum length of stay restrictions, a couple of different applications that you might have there. Another question that we get, not as frequently, but somewhat, I've seen that pop up in some of our queries on the support website, is how do you restrict the number of bookings? This is sometimes referred to as an NTS restriction or number to sell. We do have this restriction available inside the Rate Wizard. And what this does is when you set a number to sell threshold, let's say 5 as your NTS restriction, this means that once that threshold has been met, once 5 bookings have been received or booked into Roomkey at that rate, it's actually going to close the rate plan. Now, if one of those bookings canceled, so it brings the total number of bookings down to 4, it's going to reopen the rate plan until you get another booking at that rate plan to reach the threshold of 5, and then it'll close it again. Now, we do have this restriction with an asterisk, meaning that this is available for our direct hotel and hotel website distribution channels only. It works with our proprietary software and direct hotel booking software, but NTS restrictions do not push out to our connectivity partners. So things like Booking.com or Expedia, they will not be restricted by the number of bookings. So you would not be able to restrict those types of rate plans or those bookings or rates on any third-party websites. Those are controlled separately on those websites or portals themselves. Another somewhat common or less common question that we do get about restrictions is how to prevent last-minute bookings. Now, we recommend using cutoff days if you want to prevent any last-minute bookings. Many hotels do want to sell right up to the same day or continue selling for same-day bookings. But if you have any certain rate plans, maybe package rates that you want to restrict and not allow guests to book for the same day or next day arrival, you want to have some time in order to prepare the package components for their arrival, you might want to consider cutoff days. And what this does is it closes off the rate if the guest is trying to book a stay that is arriving too soon. And one thing to be mindful of with these cutoff days, they are full day increments. So one day, one cutoff day is calculated as 24 hours before the check-in time for the hotel. So, for example, if your check-in time is 1 o'clock at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and it is currently 5 p.m. and I'm looking to book for tomorrow, I will not see any rates. I will not see that cutoff rate available. I would have to book 2 days in advance. So I wouldn't be able to arrive today, and I wouldn't be able to arrive tomorrow because I'm looking at booking within 24 hours of that hotel check-in time. So that would fall within that cutoff period, and that rate wouldn't be available. I'd have to look at arriving 2 days from now in that case. So it's important to note if you're looking at those cutoff days or anything like that. Um, with the exception of cutoff days, all of these restrictions are found in the Rate Wizard under the Next button. The cutoff days setting, I'm going to show you where that is located. I have a demo database here. And you go to System Configuration, Rate Wizard, and I have an advanced purchase non-refundable rate here. Instead of going to the Next button to manage the restrictions on a day-by-day basis, for cutoff days, you would go to the Edit button, the pen and paper symbol, and these are applied to the whole rate plan. So here we can see I've got cutoff days set to 7. For this advanced purchase non-refundable rate, guests must book 7 days in advance in order to access this rate plan. This is also fully non-refundable. It requires prepayment at the time of check-in. So if you're setting up those cutoff days, just be mindful that it's located here on the edit button, and it applies to all dates instead of just picking specific dates for the cutoff there. Okay, so in an effort to show you maybe some of the flexibility of the Rate Wizard, I wanted to show you an example here of a task that you might be required to set up in advance of a special event. We're located here in Vancouver, Canada, and Vancouver is hosting some World Cup games for the FIFA Championships. One of the games is on June 13th, 2026. So I'm going to show you a demonstration of how to do all of these steps directly in Roomkey in the Rate Wizard, and I'll show you a couple of shortcuts as well as we go along. So the first thing that I want to make sure is that I'm increasing my room prices. I want to increase that base rate up to $600. I want to make sure that I'm able to, I know it's going to be high occupancy, so I want to maximize my revenue potential there by increasing my rate prices. Um, the other thing that I want to do is I want to close out all of my discounts and packages. I only want to make the bar best available rate available during those dates. I don't want to allow any discounted rates. I want to make sure, again, that you're maximizing your room revenue for that special event. Lastly, I'll go ahead and put on a 2-night minimum stay, and we'll be able to see how that restriction can be applied, and we can discuss those stay-through options as well. Okay, so let me bring up my demo database once again. And I'm going to start with increasing my rate prices, and I'm also going to close out the rates. So I'm going to start from my best available rate. I have all of these other rates that are tier enabled, and I know from my own structure or from my own setup that these rates are all tiered off of the best available rate. So I can control this rate plan and all tiered rates directly from the best available rate. I'm going to click the next button. And the first thing that I want to do is increase my base rate. So it's going to be $600 all the way across that base rate row at the top. And I want to apply this to, that was June 13th. So let me jump ahead to, June 13th. And June 13th. Perfect. So it's the one date that I'm going to apply that restriction to. The other thing that I'm going to do is close out all of my rates. Now, this is going to close out my best available rate at the same time, but we'll show you how this can be reopened right away as well. So I'm going to close everything out. I'm going to increase my price and I'm going to close out the rate, update my rate amounts, and click Save. So I'm actually doing two operations at the exact same time directly from this tool. I'm going to be updating my rate amounts and closing out all my rates. And because there's rates tiered off of the best available rate, I'm going to apply these changes to those tiered rates and click Yes. So now if oh, there we go. On screen, it actually jumped ahead to that date. In the lower half of the screen, I can see June 13th. It now appears with a $600 base rate price, and it's also showing me that that rate is closed out. Now, I know that this is also closed all of my other rate plans. I want to reopen only my best available rate. So I still have the June 16th date listed here. I'm going to click Open Closed Rate. I'm going to click Save. And now I'm going to change the close feature. So I'm going to reopen that closed rate and click OK. Now, this is where it's going to ask me if I want to also apply that change to my tiered rates. In this example, I'm going to click No. Now, Roomkey is going to ask me if I want to reopen some select rates instead of all of those tiered rates. So if you do want to keep certain rates open, maybe your best available rate and your hotel collect or prepaid rates on any of your third-party websites like Expedia or Booking.com, we can select individual rates to reopen, or you can leave those unchecked and only reopen the best available rate. You'll click Update Selected Rates. And down in the lower half of the screen, we can see that that rate is now open. So it's at a higher price, $600 is my base rate, and my bar rate is the only one that is open. Now you can double check that if you click Return to Main Page and check any one of your other tiered rates. Let's see, ABC, this is a corporate discounted rate. I would click the Next button. And if I jump ahead to June 13th, I'll see that that rate is increased, but it's also closed. So that rate, that tiered rate remains closed because of the closure that I applied initially when I updated the pricing. Now you can selectively reopen certain rates if you'd like to, one at a time. If you wanted to reopen this closed rate, we certainly could. We would just jump ahead to that date again, the 13th, and you would open closed rate and click Save to open a single tiered rate instead of all of the tiered rates. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to return to the main page. So I've completed those first two steps. I've increased the room price and I've closed off all of my discounts and packages. My bar is the only rate that is still open. Last thing I need to do is add a 2-night minimum stay. So back here in the rate wizard, once again, making sure I'm selecting my best available rate and click the Next button. I want to apply another restriction. Again, this is going to be for that one single date, June 13. There we go. I use my dates, June 13th, date from and date to. And now I want to apply a length of stay or LOS restriction. So you'll select LOS, and we're going to put a minimum length of stay. That's going to be 2 nights. You can put a maximum if you want to limit the stays just to 2 nights. But I, again, want to maximize my profit potential or revenue potential there. So if the guest wants to stay 3 or 4 or 5 nights, I'm not going to set any maximum. They just have to have a minimum 2-night stay. in order to stay on the June 13th. So once you've placed your LOS and selected minimum and or maximum, you'll click the Save button off to the right-hand side. Again, Roomkey is going to confirm that you're applying an LOS restriction, and it's going to give you the option to apply those to any of those tiered rates. I'm going to go ahead and click Yes, just to keep everything simple and applied across the board there. So once that is updated, what you'll see on your screen in your rate calendar down below is that you have a little 2/0. That might be appearing quite small. So if you'd like, you can double click on this date and that will expand to show you the pricing, and it shows you your restrictions. So I've placed a minimum length of stay, LOS, of 2 nights on that date. That means that if a guest wants to arrive on Friday, stay through Saturday, and check out Sunday, they'll have a minimum 2 nights there. If they arrive on Saturday, the 13th, they have to book at least Saturday and Sunday in order to stay over for that special event. Excellent. So just heading back to our presentation there, a little bit of a live demonstration about how to apply all of those types of functions, whether you're increasing pricing, applying any restrictions, and how those can also interact with those rate tiers if you've got a tiered structure for your rate plans. Thanks. Now, moving on in our presentation, I also wanted to take a few more minutes to talk about some GDS rates. Now, just a reminder, GDS refers to any of our connectivity partners. These could be any third-party websites like Booking.com, Expedia. They can be any channel managers like SiteMinder, or you can have larger platforms, enhanced platforms with TravelClick, iHotelier, Synexis, and Vertical Booking. In this case, these are third-party websites or portals or platforms that are distributing your rates out beyond just your hotel website or hotel direct distribution channels. And oftentimes these connectivity partners will charge a commission for bookings that are made through their channels. So when we're talking about connecting GDS rates, really what we are looking at doing is sending rates and inventory information from Roomkey to these connectivity partners. So any base rates or connected rates, we're sending that rate price, whatever is uploaded into the rate grid or the rate calendar. And we're also sending inventory information. So information directly from your inventory in Rate Wizard in Roomkey, we're sending that inventory information directly to those connectivity partners. When a booking is made on one of those platforms, the reservation information is then being sent back down into Roomkey with the guest name, contact information, the rate plan, and the pricing that was booked on those platforms. So in order to set up this connection, we are doing what's called rate mapping. And what we do is map rate plans on a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that each rate plan you create on your connectivity partner. So if you've got 5 rate plans on Booking.com, you want to create 5 rate plans in Roomkey so we can connect those on a 1-to-1 ratio. So looking at it from the very beginning, you might ask, how do you set up a new GDS rate if you've got a brand new rate plan that you want to distribute through one of those connectivity partners? We're going to follow 3 simple steps. The first step is to create the new rate plan on the connectivity partner. So you're going to create the rate plan. You're going to, depending on how the platform is set up, depending on what you need to do for the portal, you might have to add room types information. You might have to add pricing, taxing information. All of that must be set up on the connectivity partner platform first. Then step number 2, you're going to create the rate plan in Roomkey. So exactly what we saw in the Rate Wizard, you're going to follow those 3 steps to create a new or add a new rate. You're going to use the next button to load your rate prices. Oftentimes with connectivity partners, you're going to simply set it up as a tiered rate equal to the best available rate, where we're pushing that best available or rate price up to the connectivity partner. And then step number 3 is going to be using the edit button to attach the client type and make the rate bookable. Now, once you have created the rate plan on the connectivity partner and the new rate plan in Roomkey, you are now going to connect the GDS and Roomkey PMS rate plans together using that rate mapping tool. So you might ask, how do you connect a GDS rate plan and a Roomkey PMS rate plan? We've got a couple of different options depending on the type of connectivity partner you're using. If you've got any of our standard interfaces, you can use our GDS linking tool. So this is applicable for direct connects with Booking.com, Expedia, channel managers like SiteMinder, or if you're using Pegasus, Travel Tripper, Windsurfer, any of those standard interfaces. If you have any enhanced interfaces with TravelClick, iHotelier, Advanced, or Synexist Enhance, or if you're using our vertical booking partner, you can use that integration mapping tool directly inside Roomkey. So that's a module that is linked into the Rate Wizard, whereas the GDS linking tool is a separate module also found in Roomkey. If you would like more step-by-step information about linking these rates, we have really great step-by-step information outlined here on the third-party rate mapping webinar. This webinar, you can of course watch the full webinar, but right below that full recording, we actually have links to separate clips of that recording. So if you just wanted to see rate mapping using the GDS linking, we've got that clipped out down below on our support website. So that's a really useful tool if you'd like to see that step by step on how to actually map these rates once you've got them built on the platform and in Roomkey. Great. Okay, so those are the most common questions that we get with GDS rates. Moving on in our presentation, let's take a look at group rates. We do get a couple of common questions. The first one, when it relates to any group blocks or group events, is how do you attach a rate to a group? Now, this is a component that is available inside the group module itself. If you need to know how to create a group from scratch, definitely check out our group training webinar that's available on our support website. This video here is just going to show you the small component about how to attach a group or a rate to a group once you've already created the group inside the group module there. Right. So here in the group wizard, you're going to be on step number 2, the rates tab, and you're going to click the rate wizard button. That's actually a shortcut directly to the rate wizard here. You're going to choose your rate. In this case, I have a group rate that I'm going to use, and you'll click the edit button, the pen and paper symbol in the lower left corner. You'll go up to the groups tab at the top, and this is where you can connect this group rate to the group that's set up in the group wizard. So I'm going to attach this for both the direct hotel and hotel website distribution channels, meaning that guests can book through the hotel website or by contacting the hotel directly. I'll just close out of the rate wizard, and now I can set this group rate as the default group rate and click post. So that's all I need to do, because in the bottom left corner, I can now see that the group rate is attached for this group. So ultimately, what you want to do is set that group default rate. In some cases, if you're using the legacy module, if you're not using the rate wizard, if you're using the old rates module, you do have to go by room type and manually move over the rate, which again is very time consuming compared to simply accessing the rate wizard and attaching the group directly in the rate wizard there. So again, that's why I do like to recommend everyone use the Rate Wizard tool, because it does have this knockoff functionality that spreads off into our different modules like the groups module here. So that is the outline of how to attach a rate plan or rates to a group. Secondary question we often get is how do you customize a rate price for a group? So if your property functions in a way that you give customized rate pricing for every event or for unique events at your property. If you want to customize that price instead of just using the default group rate, you'll still attach that group rate plan, but we've got one additional step that you can perform directly in the groups module to override those attached rates and customize that price for this specific group. I really like using this tool because it ensures that the price is customized for this one group and it does not affect any other groups that may also use the same rate plan, the group rate. So in this video, this is complementary to the video that we just watched where we attached the group rate directly in the groups module. Now I'm going to customize and go one step further and actually customize the price for this group. So here in the rates tab, I've attached using the rate wizard, I've set the group default rate, and now I'm going to click override attached rates. This brings up a new pop-up where at the bottom of the screen I can see what the rates are currently set as. And at the top of the screen, I can see all of the dates for this group, and I can also customize where I want to customize the pricing. So I'm just going to customize the pricing for the main group block date, January 10th. Now I can use the grid in the middle to customize my price. My price is going to be customized at 205. And you can see that that's going to be applied for all occupancy types for all room types. Now, if you do want to increase or change the price on a specific room type, like this EKS room type, you can go ahead and type that custom value into the grid directly. So I'm going to make the EKS a little bit more, $300, and click Save. Once you click Save, you'll receive this confirmation that the rates have been successfully override. And at the bottom of the screen, you can double check your work. So you can see your custom pricing on the specific day that you've decided. So January 10th, the price is 205, and you can just close out of that area there. Great. So that's how you can customize the price without having to change anything in the rate wizard. You don't have to manually change the price there. This is the custom price for this one-time group only. Does not affect any other groups. Thanks. So those are the most common questions that we get when it comes to group rates. We do tend to have some more specific things about groups in general, about the group block or rooming lists and things like that. If you want to know more information, definitely check out our groups webinar available on our support website. Speaking of the support website, I'm going to highlight the support website as part of our rate management resources. Not only is it great for some of those additional webinars, you can access this at any time from any location. We do not require any login information. Our support website is publicly available 24/7, 365. From our support website, we do have a quick access link to all of our training videos and webinars, including where this webinar is going to be placed following today. Some ones that I would like to highlight or that I've actually mentioned in today's webinar presentation already include our Managing Rates webinars. This includes our Rate Wizard training webinar that shows you how to create a rate from scratch, beginning to end, and describes all of the steps involved. We also look at Rate Management webinar that includes some of those GDS tools, and our All About Rates webinar, which was our refresh webinar from last year as well. So some really great resources there. All of those webinars are also clipped out. So instead of watching the full 1 hour presentation, if you wanted to watch clips, those are available on our webinars as well. Some additional webinars that I talked about today include some of our interface webinars that refer to our GDS linking webinar, our two-way GDS interface webinar, and our third-party rate mapping webinar. Those GDS linking and rate mapping webinars are really helpful if you are struggling with any step-by-step processes when it comes to distributing the rates out through those GDS connectivity partners. Now, if you are having any specific challenges, definitely reach out to our support team. They can be reached via email, support@roomkeypms.com. Um, we are able to receive screenshots of any particular issues you might be having, or in case you come across an error message, definitely take a screenshot, send it over to our support team, and they'll be able to help you troubleshoot through those challenges. If you're finding that you want to have more one-on-one support directly with a trainer, we do also sell one-on-one training through our inside sales team. You can reach out to our inside sales manager, Michael Mitchell. His contact information is listed on screen here, mmitchell@roomkeypms.com. He'd be happy to set you up, learn a little bit more about the challenges you're finding with your rates or distribution, and we'll also be able to assign a trainer from our training team to work with you one-on-one to help you ensure that those rates are set up in order for you to go through your happy 2026 there. Great. So that's a lot of information. We looked at rates overview, loading prices, restrictions. We talked about GDS and group rates, and we did a quick review of some of those rate management resources available online and through support. Just want to open up the floor here to see if there's any outstanding questions. Take a look at our Q&A. Hey, looks like things have pretty well been covered. If there are any questions, you can go ahead and click on the Q&A and we can answer those live in our presentation here. Got quite a few people still, maybe a couple of people typing. Oh, okay, so it looks like that might be it. There are no outstanding questions at this time. Thank you everyone for joining in for our refresh training, looking at updating rates for next year. For those of you, if you have a couple of minutes, just a reminder that there's a webinar survey at the end. If you have a couple of minutes just to give us some feedback there or suggest any topics for future review. We're looking at setting our webinar schedule for 2026 and pretty excited to hear any feedback from you as well. So thank you again for joining in and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.